Welcome back to my channel. My name is Stacey. I am a Chicago homemaker, housewife, and new stay-at-home mom. I am living the actual dream, and in this video I'm going to be talking about setting up things for the family foundation in the 4 core foundations of homemaking. So if you're interested in that, please keep watching. So this is a continuation of a series that I started as I am a new homemaker and I am learning all things homemaking and sort of revisiting things that I learned in my childhood. It helps me to be able to process out loud and talk about them. And so I want to go through some of the things that I've already set up so that as I'm showing you different things that I'm doing to become the best homemaker in all the land, it'll make sense. And so a little bit ago, I talked about how there are 4 foundations to homemaking. Family is one of the foundations, and under the family foundation, there is like vision, scheduling, growth. It's like growth and education. I should have had that in there. Somebody had mentioned in the comments, where would I put health? And health is under family. It is something that I think about when I'm thinking about nutrition and things like that. So it kind of fits in all of the different categories, but I thought about it for a little bit and I do want to add that as an addition, that like health is going to be under that family dynamic. But there are a couple different things that are under family. And what I want to talk about in this video is the aspect of vision that's under family, because it's super duper duper important. I was first introduced to the power of a vision when I was 19 years old. I got selected to participate in a leadership program. And I think, you know what? Let's look at this full circle moment, because I referenced Disney in my first thought about homemaking. This is so hilarious. Okay. All right. Maybe not hilarious, but interesting. So when I was 19 years old, I got selected to participate in a leadership program. I graduated from that leadership program, and then I won a scholarship to another leadership program. And that leadership program was Disney's leadership program, where it essentially took leaders from campuses across the United States. Was it international? No, campuses across the United States. We went to Urbana-Champaign in Illinois for a week, and they basically taught us the fundamentals of leadership, how to be a leader, etc. It was there that I learned what a vision is and why vision is so important. And interestingly enough, while we were there, they didn't even use Disney as the example of a person who set a vision. They used several different examples, but it's something that has stuck with me my entire life. The program was called Leadership. I've learned so much from it, but that was the first time I was like, holy moly, you need to have a vision for your life. Like if you want to get somewhere that you've never seen before, you have to have a vision. Or if you want to maintain what you were born and raised in, you need to have a vision. So that was my first introduction to it. So since about 19, I've been creating visions for my life. My love for it was deepened again through some of my church background, because there was such a huge emphasis on vision. I didn't necessarily think about, because the program was about leadership and leading others. So there in the visions I set initially, they were kind of other focused, career focused. It wasn't until I got in the church that I realized that, oh, like I need a vision for myself, and then I need a vision for my family. And so then I was able to sort of like tie those things together. And then it gets us to where we are right now, where I think about my vision for my family. And so something that S and I have done, I pulled these down, like you can see handwriting and you can see this piece of tape, because literally these just hang on our wall in the living room, because right now we are working on our vision. And I say we're working on our vision because a vision in the beginning especially needs to be a working document. It needs to be something that you are massaging and developing and working on. There is some aspect of living that is required to support you in understanding the vision that you want. Like, and I'll try to see if I can find one of my old vision statements that was just for me at the time, me and my son. But when we became a family of 4, there needs to be a shift in the vision. And we have a separate marriage vision for what we want our marriage to be. But the vision for our family is different than our marriage. Our marriage and our family are 2 totally different things. And I keep it that way because when our kids are grown and gone, I want my marriage to still be amazing and fun and sexy and all of these different things. So our marriage vision, very different than our family vision, but we still sort of have similar components that we broke down. So one of the things that I start with is I'll write, this says our mission, but I'll write like different words that we talked about, like different words that when we think about our vision, what words work for us. I'm not going to share our vision again because it's a working document, and I'll share bits and pieces of this because it's a working document. I want to respect our privacy while we're creating this thing for our family, but I do want to provide examples. So the vision is a lot more personal than the mission, so that's why I don't even have that piece of paper here, but a lot of it was like writing down words that resonate with us. So a lot of times when people think about vision, they think of words like legacy or generational wealth or different things like that. And we tossed those words around between us, and they were not as important to us as words like happiness and health and communication. So it's been really interesting to see the vision that we have for our family that is less legacy focused than what I may have been raised or conditioned to believe a family vision should be. But I bring that up to say that your family vision should be about you and your family. It should be your truth. It should not just be a regurgitation of what other people say it should be. Because when I think about like people who have an emphasis on generational wealth, for example, like probably the most well-known families are like the Rockefellers and the Vanderbilts. And because they have such an emphasis on wealth, there is a very specific way that they've structured their family. And there are very specific guidelines that they have for their family, like who they can marry, when they have to get married, how much money they will inherit based off how many children that they have, where they can live. When generational wealth is a part of your family legacy, there are guidelines, just anything that you put in your family legacy, there are guidelines that you would need to put in place in order to be able to maintain that. And so as we've been working through it, we're learning that's just not something that is as legacy and generational wealth is, but I don't even want to get into it. But legacy is just not something that is as important to us as it stands right now. Working document, things could change. But after putting down some reflective thoughts about our vision, we look at our mission. Our vision is like what we want for our family. Like, what do we see for our family? And something else that informed our vision too is that if we were like, if money couldn't be the objective, what else? If it wasn't about money, if the purpose of our family is not about generational wealth, if it's not about money, what else is our family about? Why are we being given the opportunity to raise these humans? Why are we being given the opportunity to love one another? And that really helped to inform what our family vision is. Then after that, we went into our family mission, and the mission is more so how we achieve the vision. And so some language that we're working on now is to cultivate a loving and supportive home where we thrive in happiness and positively impact the world. That's fairly long-winded. It won't end up being this. It'll be something much more succinct that I can say, my husband could say, my son could say, my daughter could say. But we wanted to get some of the things out that were really important. And so something that's really important to this mission is that we'll grow and thrive. We have growing in our marriage because it's just something that's really important to Shanquise and I. But healing is also something that is deeply important because health is so important. Mental and emotional, physical, spiritual. Health is like top tier priority for us. And in us wanting to be healthy, there is a component where healing is required because some of the health things that we have, whether they're physical, emotional, whatever, is a result of having been hurt or harmed or wounded or whatever. And so healing is a part of our mission. And so you will see that healing component show up in things like the food that we choose to eat because healing is super important, right? Or you will see that healing component show up in the investment in a therapist because our mental and emotional health is super important. You will see that healing component show up in even how my daughter, she had cradle cap, it went away, came back because she had this super severe outbreak with eczema. And when I went to go take care of her eczema, I approached it from a very holistic perspective because I do not actually want her baby eczema to turn into adult eczema. So I'm thinking lifestyle changes and shifts that we may need to make so we can completely heal her of this eczema and she can just have smooth, healthy, protective skin for the rest of her life. I just don't want her dealing with that for the rest of her life. And if I can do something now to shift that, I will. There's a way that, like, in terms of me using my breast milk and her having breast milk baths and different things like that, it feeds into the healing. So a lot of the daily, weekly, monthly things that we do is because of the overall mission. We also want to thrive in happiness, right? We want to live in happiness. We don't want to just heal and grow and do all that work. We genuinely want to enjoy our life. So living and thriving is super duper duper important. The part where we want to inspire and positively impact the world, that's more of a me thing. Even as I just read it out loud, that's like my personal mission as opposed to what the mission is for the family. But it creeps in there because, we're working on this together. The growth piece, the supportive piece, growth and support are super duper important to Shanquise. So you will see that woven throughout a lot of the things. And so after we write out the mission, then we kind of write out strategies that we could potentially use to achieve that mission. And strategies are very simple when it comes to family stuff. So one of our top family strategies is just to eat our meals together at a table. And I know that sounds simple, but you would be surprised how many families don't eat meals together, don't eat at a table, and what is lost in not engaging in that activity. So a part of our family mission is to cultivate a loving and supportive home and environment, right? So to create the loving and supportive place, we need a communal space. We need a space where we can all come together and feel the support and the love. Because if we're in our separate rooms or we're in our separate locations, we may not feel that. Eating dinner together is not just a means to eat so that we can have the fuel to do the day. It's a means to gather so that we can connect and make sure that we're supporting one another. So it's like a lot of people eat meals together at a table because that's just what's been done, but they're not putting any intention behind it. Our intention with the meals that we eat together is to create the loving and supportive environment. So when we're sitting down at the table, we're being very intentional about the activities that we do at the table in terms of whether or not we have phones at the table, in terms of whether or not the food is like set out family style, or am I bringing the food in from the kitchen? Am I sitting down with the family? Like all those different things are because eating breakfast and lunch and dinner together is a strategy to achieve our mission. Strategy should be very, very simple. That is one of our strategies to produce the loving and supportive environment. We're using mealtime. We're using a gathering place to achieve that. After I write out strategies, then I think about, okay, what are some of the things that can block us being able to implement that strategy so we can achieve our mission? And the number one blocker that we have right now is that I'm postpartum. And the reason why I say that that's a blocker is because hormonally, I'm less regulated, which means I don't always feel like either preparing a meal to sit down at the table or even coming to the table to sit down, or, like I'll just be super tired, or I'll be like, right? Like postpartum is a very real thing that is hindering our ability to have all of our meals together, right? The other thing that's hindering us having all of our meals together is that Shanquise works. So when he was on paternity leave, we could do breakfast, lunch, and dinner together. Now we can't have all the meals together because he has a schedule where he works outside of the home. And so that is a blocker to us implementing that strategy. And it's important to write them down. Blockers don't mean something has gone wrong. It just means, hey, what season are you in right now? There was a time when Shanquise was injured, and that was a blocker because he's not as supportive in the kitchen with respect to like cleaning the dishes and just different things like that. So that's sort of how we set up the mission, which all of this goes under the vision for the family. Then after we do the mission, the next thing that I look at is values. If you're in any of my coaching experience, values are super duper important. And so we are setting our values as a family. And again, some of the ones that we're throwing around is health. That's probably going to be in there. I'm pretty sure it's going to be in there. Mental, physical, emotional health is so important. And it's important to me and it's important to Shanquise for different reasons. Me, it's important because I know the quality of the happiness that you experience is deeply contingent upon the level of health that you have. Shanquise likes like athleticism and mobility and physicality. He had some early childhood experiences where people were ill and they weren't able to move around and take care of themselves. And he does not want that to be our life at all. And so health is a huge value in our family. Self-expression is another value that we have in our family. And we're working on a couple others. We want to narrow it down to our top 3. We're going to do 5 altogether, but we're going to have like our top 3 be the ones that are driving. But we sit down and we think about it. And when we hear a value or we are watching something on TV and we like it, we're like, oh, what's that value? And then we write it down. And so, for example, the other day we were watching Miss Felicia Rashad on The Breakfast Club, and she talked about how the African American people, we are inherently a respectful people. And the way she said it, I was like, oh, thank you for reminding me. We are inherently a respectful people. And so that made both of us think about the level of respect that we have for each other, the level of respect that we have for our children, for others, etc. How important respect is. Respect even came up in our couples counseling, with not between us, but in terms of how the world interacts with Shanquise respectfully and me. And we were like, oh, what if respect is one of our values? And we didn't even know it. So we wrote it down on the piece of paper for us to examine over the next few months to figure out whether or not that will be a value in the family. Then after we write out our values, the next thing that we do is we go to our people. And our people are based off of my belief in the 5 key people that you need in order to be happy, because happiness is in the vision, happiness is in the mission. In order for us to be able to achieve that, you need people. In general, you need people, but because happiness is a part of it, we really need people. And then also, I'm very big on community. I'm very big on family and extended family and people. And I do believe that it takes a village to raise a child, like all of these different things where people are important. And so it's important to map out our people, and we map it out based off of my TED Talk, the 5 key people: the cheerleader, the mentor, the coach, the friend, and the peer. And so, for example, and it's interesting, like, and I'll just give an example. So for the cheerleader, Shanquise has me down as his cheerleader. Like, that's sort of the role that I am doing, based off these people. But my cheerleader is my mom. And so it's interesting. Shanquise is not my cheerleader in this 5 key people. He's my friend in this 5 key people, but he's not in this particular. And when I say these people, like probably this season, this immediate like postpartum season, right? Like he's not my number 1 cheerleader because he doesn't know anything about postpartum that he hasn't read, and he's not a woman, and he doesn't know what I'm going through. But you know who knows what I'm going through? You know who has been like incredible? My mom. My mom is like, oh yeah, Stacey, this and this and this. Oh yeah, Stacey, blah, blah, blah. And because my mom had 5 daughters, that's the other thing too. Like, she's rooting for me and she's helping me because she has what I have right now, which is a young daughter, like, right? And my mom is the mother to adult children. I am also the mother to adult children. She's the greatest cheerleader in all the land. Whereas I'm a really good cheerleader for Shanquise because I have had a child and this is his first child. And so I'm rooting for him. And right. So it's like him not being my cheerleader isn't a bad thing. It's based off of the season that he's in and what he's processing and what he's doing. And so we have our cheerleader. My mentor, or our mentor, the person who was guiding us, used to be our couples therapist, but we decided to pause couples therapy for a bit while we're navigating this postpartum season, because going through what we were going through in couples therapy, even though it was incredible, it is still a heavy emotional lift, which was negatively impacting postpartum. So then our couples therapist, Dr. T, couldn't be that mentor. So I was able to replace that mentor right now with my home ec teacher. She's the person who's pointing me in the right direction with respect to how I'm structuring, setting up my home, shifting into this new career, etc. Shanquise is still finding who his mentor is going to be, but we literally sat down, talked about it. Who are the 5 people that are influencing you the most? Who are the 5 people that are influencing me the most? We wrote it all down. And then last but certainly not least, under the vision, we think about our intentions for the year. And we have 7 seven family intentions for the year. And one of our top intentions is around our health, right? So my intention for this year is to return back to my natural weight and to feel the strength, stamina, and energy that I did pre-pregnancy. I know that's a lot. I'm not putting pressure on myself. I promise you, I'm not putting pressure on myself. But my intention this year is to return to my natural weight and have the stamina and energy that I had pre-pregnancy. To that end, the way that I set up everything else that I have going on in my life is to support that intention. Shankees has some intentions around his weight. And also my intention around my weight too is because after I had, like, while I was giving birth to our daughter, like, my blood pressure spiked. And then how long was I in the hospital? 4 days. The 4 days I was in the hospital, I think I had to stay an extra day because my blood pressure was so high. And so there were some blood pressure things that were involved. So like, my physical health is a priority because blood pressure literally affects everything. And I don't want to have a blood pressure problem. So a part of me wanting to return to my natural weight is to support the health of my blood pressure. A part of me wanting to gain the energy and the stamina is so that I can reduce my stress, so that I can reduce my blood pressure. So it's like all of that ties in. That's why that's a priority. Shankees has a priority, a health priority intention. He has a career priority intention. I have a career priority intention. My career priority intention is to transition into a homemaker, housewife, and new stay-at-home mom. That's the intention. And you will see so much of my time, energy, focus is dedicated to that because this is my first year as a homemaker. This is my first year as a stay-at-home mom. This is my first year as a housewife, and I want to treat it as such. But that's the intention. And so I say all that to say, when we sat down and we're like, okay, what goes under the vision? This was some of the stuff that goes under the vision. And because this is a working document, we stuck it to the wall. He can add to it. I can add to it. We review it every now and again when we sit down at the table, or sometimes when we're just chit-chatting with each other. And we're doing this now because we want to know for everything else that we're doing. It's like, well, why are you doing this? Like, so for example, on Mondays, I like to do laundry. I enjoy laundry. On Mondays, I like to do laundry. I was really tired this past Monday, and I was just like, I'm so exhausted. Even Sunday, I was like, I'm so exhausted. But on Monday, kind of the rhythm of Monday is a reset day, and a part of the reset is to do some laundry. And when Shankees saw me, he was just like, just leave the laundry, just leave it. Like, I can do it, or you could get to it tomorrow. And I said to him, no, I'm going to do it today. One, because I enjoy doing laundry. I need to do something. I am exhausted, but I need to do something that I enjoy, right? That's one reason. But I also brought his attention back to our family vision and mission. And I reminded him, in values, right? And I reminded him that, like, I'm not doing laundry because I'm trying to be some good little wife who has the laundry done. No, I'm doing laundry because it is a part of my self-care to do something that I enjoy. It is a part of my self-care to honor my rhythms. And a part of the Monday rhythm is a reset. It's a part of my self-care. It's a part of my intention this year to transition into a homemaker, housewife, and stay-at-home mom. And so sometimes I'm going to be doing things that I don't want to do, in the same way that if I had a regular job, I would go to work on a day where I was still tired and do my job, because that's going to be how I learned to do my job. But I had to remind him that, like, being a homemaker is a career choice. And in it being a career choice, I am going to treat it with the priority, and I'm going to treat it with the stick-to-itiveness that I would any other career choice. If I was training to become a doctor, I wouldn't not study that day because I was tired. No, I would study despite the fact that I was tired because I know I want to become a doctor. In that same way, I'm going to do the laundry today because I want to be the best homemaker in all the land. That is what, like, right? Like, and this is just one of the things. It also serves other areas, but baseline, it serves this. But I'm able to bring him back to, well, this is my intention for this year. And this is how this intention fits with the mission. And this is how this fits with the vision. Now he's able to push back and be like, yeah, but remember, while that's your intention, one of our blockers or barriers to us achieving this mission is that you are postpartum. And it is my responsibility to make sure that sometimes when you're overextending yourself, I encourage you to relax. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. As like the role that he's serving, right? Like, yes, he's my husband, partner, lover, whatever, but he's also serving as like my friend. And that friend role that he's doing right now is to care for me the way that a friend would care for someone and be like, hey, but you're wearing yourself out. Like, I know that this is what you want to do. The same way if I was huffing and puffing about my career to a friend, she would be like, girl, you're doing the most. Maybe you just need to take some PTO. So him being like, okay, chill on doing this today. He gets to push back, but he's not just pushing back from a place of like, I don't want you to do this and I'm controlling, or don't do this because I don't like how you, like, no, we know, I hesitate to say document, but like, we know the document that is driving him telling me what he's telling me and me resisting what we know that it's not personal. We know that it's like, oh, okay, she's really taking this seriously. This is her career. This is her top intention. I forgot, you know what? She does love laundry. She's probably going to get a lot of satisfaction from this. Even though she's tired, let me go ahead and right? But he's also like, hey, as the person observing you, I don't want you to wear yourself too thin. And this looks a little tiresome right now. So why don't you just relax? All of that is built in and baked into our foundation because we sat down and we talked about it. So he's not making assumptions. I'm not making assumptions. I'm not like, oh, you don't think that I can handle it? No, I don't. That's not where he's coming from. And he's not like, why are you doing all this stuff, wearing yourself out now? Like, we don't have those kind of arguments because we've sat down and we've thought about the family vision, and there's a clarity around why I'm doing what I'm doing, why he's doing what he's doing. And then we're able to support each other so much more. I wouldn't say effortlessly, but easily. We're able to support each other so much more easily. And that's where we are right now. So until the next video, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.